Hey everyone, it's Daniel with VintageMagic.com, and thanks again for watching one of my MTG investment finance videos. So today's video is all about a question that I received from a gentleman named Graig Kreindler. That's Greg with a G, and I'll put his information, his link below. Greg is an artist in the sports area, and he's really great in realism art, beautiful paintings of historical memories of baseball and sports memories and portraits. So Greg posed this question to me. He had an opportunity to do a potential trade for Magic the Gathering collectibles. He enjoys the game, and he asked me, would it be something that I would advise to accept Magic the Gathering cards, specifically vintage cards, for trade for his work and commissions and whatnot. So for those of you who don't understand how the art industry works in terms of how artists make their money, there's two kinds of artists. There's usually a fine artist and an illustrator. And so an illustrator is someone that creates work for a book cover, gets hired by Marvel, stuff like that, hired by a company. And fine artist is someone that creates art for themselves, or it's art that really has no, it wasn't commissioned by anybody at all. So those are the two general ways to make money, and then you can sell prints and obviously make money off that. And so in Greg's situation, I'm assuming he's getting money potentially for either one of his paintings he's created, or he also could get money from a commission, which a commission basically is like, let's say I wanted Greg to create Babe Ruth, a portrait of Babe Ruth hitting one of his home runs in the Yankee Stadium. That would be something I'd commission Greg. So the idea of trading art work in terms of your hard work, your effort or commission, or even your art that you've already made for Magic the Gathering cards isn't a new thing. The secondary market actually does this quite a bit. I've done this quite a bit, and it works very effectively. Now, the problem here is, the problem that I can see happening here is lack of knowledge on both ends, or one of the ends, where the trade can get lopsided. And so one thing you have to understand is that just because the value of a card is on a website on eBay, or it's on Star City Games or my website, whatever, it doesn't mean that that's necessarily the true value of what it actually sells for on an average. So with that in mind, you have to understand, if you do accept a trade, you have to negotiate with your party. And so it gets kind of complicated, but I do have some tips on how to do this correctly for both sides. So let's say in Craig's situation, let's say someone wanted to commission a $5,000 piece of artwork, and the guy wanted to give him a bunch of Power 9 cards or dual lands, assortment of cards. So the easiest way to go about this is, if you're offering cards, if you're in Craig's case at the artist, you would just ask the collector or player, hey, what cards do you have available for trade? And first off, it's okay to ask this next question because it speeds the whole process up. What do you value your cards? I mean, what's going to happen here is if the collector is like, well, I don't know, you tell me. No. First off, you would say, well, if you're not going to tell me the value of the items, respectfully, they are your items. This is going to only slow down negotiations. You're a very busy time as an artist. You have other things to do. If it's not easy for a trade, then this is not a client that you want to do business with. So the buyer needs, or the collector needs, to give you information and price what they want. And so that is something you have to save yourself a lot of time. So after asking that question, you figure out some evaluations. You can do your research. And what you do is you go to eBay, you go to store sites, you see, kind of the market itself, or you can ask a second opinion. I mean, if you're looking for an appraisal, you have a question on a deal, you can always contact me, VintageMagic.com, and then on the contact us, we could talk about some of our services. We have an appraisal program where I can appraise a deal that you're working on and see if it's a profitable deal, something that you can do. So one of the things that I would recommend is getting advice from as many people as you can. So after you receive or you determine what you want to trade, and then you present it to the buyer and the collector. If the collector accepts, then you're great. I mean, it's great. Now, one thing I would recommend is making sure you buffer any number that you come up with for add another 10 to 15%. Now, you're probably asking why. Well, the reason why is because there's transaction costs that you have to sell the items. There might be a chance that the items might go decline in value. There's several little things that could happen. So you always just want to buffer yourself so you're giving yourself some room if something does happen to that collectible or collectibles. Another thing is, as an artist's case, is do not accept collectibles that are mass produced. Or you also have no idea what the heck they are. If you are like unsure what the collectible really is, you have no familiarity. Like, let's say the person's offering you some Russian, some Russian guns or something from back in the day, the early Soviet era, back in like Stalin or something. I mean, yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what the heck that is. I have to do an amazing amount of research to figure out what it is and find out where to sell them. I would definitely pass. So never accept collectibles that are something you have no idea what it is. So make sure you also know like kind of the area of collectibles that you want. So the buyer might be like, hey, Greg, well, what kind of collectibles are you looking at? So one of the things that I would point out is that I would stay away from the new collectibles unless it's like the sealed boxes and you research the lowest price and what they sell for. And then you're able to buffer from there. The reason why I say that is that the newer cards tend to be massively overproduced. And they are not worth what they are at that moment sometimes. Like they could go down like 10% the next day. So you need to be very careful on that. And you need to make sure that you're not getting a ton of newer collectibles. So if someone comes up to you and says, hey, Craig, I will give you 5,000 $1 cards or 1,000 $5 cards of the newer sets. You might be thinking, well, that's $5,000. And then, let's buffer it, give me another 15% of that. I'm fine. No, do not do that deal. The reason why is because the amount of time it's going to take you to sell those cards, and also from an investment standpoint, those cards are probably going to go down by half by next year or within the year, because Wizards tends to reprint everything possible to oblivion. So all the new cards have no stability whatsoever, especially if you're not in the market of speculation in Magic the Gathering. So since you're just an artist, I would not recommend that. So again, focus on the vintage collectibles, the reserve list cards that are not reprinted, sealed boxes that are quality condition. I would even trade for Magic the Gathering art if if it's that good of a deal. It depends, because remember, as an artist, if you're selling artwork of your own, or you want a commission, it's just your time. And if you think about it, you could be getting potentially collectibles that will go up in value. So this brings up the interesting situation where, what if the collector offers you Power 9, high-end dual lands, nice graded cards, whatever? This opens the door like, wow, maybe I don't need a buffer. I could actually hold these for a while and they'll go up even more. And that is very true. So, for example, if someone wanted to commission a $50,000 painting from you, and they gave you an Alpha 9.5 Black Lotus with high quality subgrades, that card could hold about a $50,000 price tag in today's market. Now let's say you as an artist, and you're like, you say to yourself, wow, that's but this card is an Alpha Black Lotus. This could be an investment piece for the long term. Now if it's just your time and obviously some materials, maybe if you're able to have a nice cash flow from other business opportunities that you have, this might be a good hedge and something you could hold, an asset you could hold to grow in the future, and potentially go up exponentially. So it really depends on what the asset is, what the trade really is. Now I have to say, I have to talk about it from a buyer's perspective, collector's perspective. So I'm going to flip and put my little buyer's hat on, and I'm not going to be the artist here. So in the buyer's eyes, collector's eyes, if you are looking to approach an artist for a trade, one of the things I would recommend doing is just being very professional, very nice, and just make sure you're not wasting their time. Make sure you understand what you want and desire and put it up in the front. Don't just have all these questions, machine gun shot, all the way what about this? Well, what about this? Or what about this? It's too much work. It's too difficult. Put it in one email, very clear what you're looking to do, and I would follow up. And if the artist is willing to pursue it, then obviously try to make a deal where it definitely benefits both parties. I mean, the idea of this is, to work it out together. You as the buyer want to own a piece of artwork from this artist. You may want to do altered commission, alters on your cards. You may want to do a commission artwork. You might want to do a recreation of the brainstorm from another artist other than Chris. Whoever did, whoever you want. So it's kind of like you have to know exactly what it is you want. And then so once you provide all that, and it would help. Like, hey, you could be upfront and say, hey, look, I have a very tight budget. I was wondering if you accept trades. And what I mean by trades, I was thinking about these valuable Magic the Gathering cards. I have these, I'm a player and a collector, but I was wondering if you accept trade. Also, if you are able to pay some cash, check, money order, PayPal, whatever, make sure you put that out in the front. Say, hey, I would prefer a trade, but if I can put in some cash, that would be great. I'm telling you, it's been going on for as a dealer, I do this. I've done some really big deals this way, but collectors do this quite a bit. But I haven't seen that many artists do it. Artists do it, with intra artists. It's called, swapping art, and they they try to switch. They're trying to have different artists that they've known and kind of share their art. That does happen, but what I'm referring to is in the client level. I'm talking about the collector level, where they offer you high-end cards or collectibles or rarities, and they for your services and time. It is a little bit more complex. It is more of a hassle in some way, but I think it can be very rewarding for both parties if it is managed in a way where it's really detailed out in the very beginning. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with this particular video and my thoughts. I think it's a very great idea. I think ultimately you're going to have to decide though. Is it from an artist perspective? You have to understand that when you own collectibles, it's not as liquid as cash, obviously, and you cannot be guaranteed that the $1,000 item today is necessarily $1,000 the next day. So you have to be careful on that, and that's why I recommend a 10 to 15% buffer on whatever number you guys decide, and be upfront with that buffer and say, hey, look, I kind of need to be at this number. So just in case for transactional costs, if I have to sell on eBay or have PayPal fees, whatever, right? It potentially could produce something. And last thing I would say in all of this is avoid exotic trades. And what I mean by that is if you're looking to trade someone, do not offer them misprints, miscut cards, crazy memorabilia of Magic the Gathering that, again, back to what I said earlier in the video, if you don't know what it is and you have no familiarity of what it is, do not go off and do the trade. And eventually you're going to have regrets, there's going to be some conflict, and it's just a bad, dicey situation. All right, guys, so thanks again for watching again. Hit subscribe below. Thanks, Craig, for all your great topic points. I had a great time meeting, speaking to Graig on the phone. I'll put his link below. He's a great artist. And guys, thanks for watching. Have a great week.